This is Professor Wong. A few days ago, she received the prestigious Fields Medal in mathematics for solving a complex problem and for her broader contributions in the field. Wong comes from Guilin, down in southern China. Naturally, China sees the moment to praise her as the first Chinese woman to win the math equivalent of the Nobel Prize, and nationalism piled on fast. State propaganda was all over that. But a few days later, the hype took a dark turn as more details about Professor Wong came out, and the truth is, she may never have won this Fields Medal had she stayed in China. Now, this is a poll conducted on Chinese social media on whether or not Professor Wong should teach back in China. 37,000 people voted. 97% said no. There's a reason for that. China abandoned her and is now seeking credit, wanting her to come back when she's becoming useful. Professor Wong studied at Peking University, but her scores were near the bottom of her class. She skipped 2 years in elementary school, so she went to university at the age of 16. But initially, she couldn't get into the math program at Peking University, so she took up the earth science program, and a year later did a transfer exam, which is essentially like a second high school final, the Gaokao. And then she did successfully transfer into the program. But during her study at Peking, she said that she lost confidence in herself, describing that period as simply, quote, survival. In an interview with France Le Monde, she said that in her class, there were some really great people. She says, I wasn't sure of my abilities. Even though I worked hard, I didn't feel like I had the same talent as them. Now, this is honestly the raw truth. China has so many talents, geniuses in all fields, yet we rarely see a Chinese Nobel winner. Why? Well, the answer is very simple. The environment. And many people online now believes that had she stayed in China, her talent wouldn't have shined through, and she might have been buried under a mountain of other geniuses. And that's really uncomfortable because China sure has no shortage of math prodigies. In an interview with Chinese state media, she said that beyond wrestling with mathematics itself, she was surrounded by Olympiad gold medalist, which is a math competition. And back then, Wang was practically invisible. So that's the important part, right? She felt invisible in a sea of great people, and yet she somehow later became the one that was the most successful. Some internet comments call her undergrad period at Peking a period of enduring pain, or no pain, no gain. What finally let her shine was an opportunity to study abroad, architecture at École Polytechnique in France. Now, the math department didn't even write her a letter of recommendation. She got one from her earth science professor. And so when she graduated from Peking, she took a photo of graduation with the earth science class of 2027.
Professeur, bonjour. Écoutez, je voulais vous appeler personnellement pour vous féliciter pour cette formidable nouvelle.
小王啊，听说你得奖了，你得谢谢党这么多年为你的付出啊！你可知道，党为你做了很多，所以你要想着回报国家啊！特别是作为党中央，我代表所有人，希望你能记住祖国，永远记住你背后的强大的祖国。让你能在数学上成功。
Now, here's the part that really matters, okay? Opportunities outside of China gave her the chance that she might have never gotten at home, where, she could have been just another one of those college grads. And people who are considered smarter than her would have been pushed to the front, right? Just because they did better on test scores or in math competitions. But in China, it doesn't really reward you with independent thinking. But in the West, this is, I think, where the true geniuses do get a chance to shine. China obviously loves to think about, how do we become the best on paper? And that's also, if you look at how it is in real life, they are great at accomplishing a lot of these tasks where it's already been invented, but they're never really good at coming up with the invention themselves. One of my college friends is from China, and he was top of his engineering class at my school, and yet, if he had stayed back in China, he couldn't get even into a tier 1 university with his test score. That's how competitive it is. So is his worth really just whatever degree he could get in China? Of course not. Now he's pursuing a PhD in a country that actually has space for and values talented people. This is Larry Guth, Professor Wong's doctorate advisor, caught on camera peeking into from the outside of a classroom as Professor Wong is giving a talk, instead of, walking in and taking credit as her mentor. This would never happen in China. If Professor Wong solved the Kakeya conjecture, in China, you bet my rear bottom that, her mentor would be the one claiming the spotlight for himself. Her own interviews confirm this. She barely mentions her undergrad years at Peking University.
I had many wonderful professors, including Pierre-Louis Lyons, Yvon Martel, Pierre Raffel, Jérémy Cheftel, and Claire Froisson. I did a reading course with Professor Yvon Mathematics. Is really my advisor, Larry Guth. When I was studying mathematics, I have to struggle a lot because I don't always have the same point of view with people around me. He usually listens and then try to follow my thought process. It helped me to gain confidence.
China sure gave birth to Professor Wong, but they didn't raise her into accomplishing her her feat as a mathematician today. In her early years, the system actually rejected her as not good enough, for things on paper. It took her own courage, or maybe even foresight, to go overseas, where she could learn that math could be fun or could be exciting, and that she was allowed to think however she wanted. Her achievement today belongs to China in only one sense, right? Her racial identity, and nothing more. And the rest of it, I think, as she herself makes it clear, that it belongs to MIT, it belongs to Ecole Polytechnique, IHES, and Larry Gruth. So why does China want to harvest the fruit? Well, because she's Chinese? One could argue that academia is about skill and hard work to break new heights, right? But in China, one can also equally argue that nobody from southern China, a rural or a small town, can wish to secure a path to doctorate without any sort of connection or political backing. So that's a difference. But also there's another difference. Here's a headline. Her fellow Fields winner, Yu Deng, is called the genie who loves comics, solving a 125-year-old problem. And the title of her article, How Did a Girl from Guangxi Receive the Most Prestigious Award? When the French president calls her professor, but in China she is just a girl. Something's wrong, right? She seems to have never received the proper recognition to begin with. The thing is, in China, they only value you when you're temporarily useful to the regime, as she is now for propaganda purpose. So I think the thing about Professor Wong is that it's backfiring on the idea of China brewing talent. If you can't be successful in China, the lesson here isn't to stay, it's to leave, right? You will be more successful if you just leave China. And that's the reality. The inability to produce talent. Sure, AI is so hot right now. China's doing so well. But they're really not. They're just stealing from existing AI companies based in the US. They haven't broken through anything first, right? They haven't innovated past what's already there. China would rather pay to manufacture a foreign face for its propaganda than to actually empower its own people. And that actually, the same mindset will show up everywhere in how the Communist Party operates today. It's so obsessed with the fake and the superficial than having real substance. Meet Edward Kupperman, China's newest foreign face and China's newest headache. Dunhuang State Media Center spared no expense hiring him, a 300,000 yuan salary plus 600,000 yuan in subsidies. So that's about 900,000 yuan combined, roughly 126,000 USD to be one of the 3 foreign mouthpieces. And he, along with 2 others, were recruited to help sell China's story to the world. On paper, Kupperman checked every box, 24 years old, Yale educated, East Asian Studies degree, and it should have been a slam dunk. Except Chinese nationalists did their own digging, and they found that he had studied in Taiwan and interned at a conservative American think tank. And just like that, the online mob decided that he wasn't a hire, he was a spy. They literally accused him of that. Now, this tells us 2 things, right? First, the CCP pays foreign influencers huge sums of money to promote the government's narrative abroad. And also, second, it barely bothers with background checks. It's just that it's so desperate to find anybody willing to take the job. Like, China's literally telling you the fake things. Here's the twist. Now, the problem here, I think, is that the government never got to control the story. Its own online nationalist turned on its own hire, turned against the government. It was friendly fire. And ordinary Chinese internet users were also commenting. They weren't talking about the spying, but they were talking about how this guy, freshly graduated from an American university, imported into China, can easily land a job that's roughly 127,000 USD, a lot more in Chinese yuan if you do the conversion, while Chinese college graduates can't find work at all, at any price. So let's just say that we have Kupperman and Dr. Wong, okay, or Professor Wong. Not to be mean to Professor Wong, but she was probably going to end up delivering food in China on a scooter, and she would have been a nobody because guess what? A simple bachelor graduate from an American university can make more than her if she had stayed in China. That's the reality. China fakes everything. In China, nothing is real anymore. Take these street interviews.
他是中东的，他在那边有3个老婆，但我一个都不允许带过来。
Baby, I love you. I'm 30 years old and I'm from Saudi Arabia.
This man is clearly not Arab, but apparently you can fake that too. And this one too.
我爸爸4个老婆，但是我的老公只有我一个。
我是他的保姆啊，每天就是陪他吃吃喝喝。哇！今年25岁，主业呢是陪闺蜜玩，副业是一名户外博主。
你的主业是什么？
这是我闺蜜，你可以问她。
This is my best friend in China, which accompany me to understand Chinese culture. We eat, play together.
Apparently, this Russian woman who is a wealthy wife of a Middle Eastern tycoon, and she supposedly needs a Chinese tour guide to take care of her during her trips.
纯素颜准备开播，正前方先开上一盏面光灯，然后点击我们的美颜，打开，再点击我们的妆容。 找到芭比，妆容50，滤镜100，再点击特效，带上一个淡颜天花板，再打开一盏颈纹下巴灯，再打开一个发丝顶灯，左右两边再开上2个侧灯， 再加上一个胸口的发丝灯，调好之后捂嘴、挡脸、转身、回头、出镜、回来，美颜都非常的稳定。素颜也能美美开播啦，快去试一试。
Selling you a random dream, okay? To be fair though, I feel like online content today is just part of China. Fake vacation photo spot. The real spot is just nothing.
拿拿铁，大草原，200块钱一张门票，你看看这是啥？不来了后悔，来了够后悔。
Fake African strike again.
This is my customer from Africa. 他白手起家。He has placed a large number of orders with Adidas.
Adidas is a very reliable company.
Well, guess I won't be buying grape leaves from Sherry again.
Look, these are our stuffed grape leaves.
If there is one good thing about these IG selling weird Chinese products is that they actually export the best quality products outside of China. They leave the inferior version for domestic consumption. And this goes with everything, okay? Similar products, you can't sometimes guarantee that it's always going to be the best, but at least they, if you're not in China, you can guarantee whatever you buy, it's good. But in this case, in a sesame sauce producing factory out of Inner Mongolia, not so clean either way. According to this video, the surfaces of some equipment in the production workshop are covered with a large amount of dirt, suspected to not have gone under thorough cleaning and maintenance for a long time. Suspected foreign matter can also be seen inside the machines. At the same time, a blackened drainage ditch in the workshop flowing with a large amount of sesame paste. To examine this inferior domestic, superior foreign concept, here are some molded durians being sold to customers inside China. Hey, they have to maintain a good quality image for the outside world, but when it's domestic, who cares, If people get stomach aches or worse, doesn't matter. Seems like a great mentality. No wonder they don't care about geniuses or normal people, because it's no different to them, Only if you're temporarily useful, then they care, for a bit. One-sided scoop, one-sided pour. Recently, people captured footage of a woman collecting gutter oil from a trash can, while at the same time, another waiter was pouring in leftover hot pot broth into the trash can. Yummy. It's like your dynamic equilibrium of hot pot, Oil in, oil out, straight back to the table, and come back again. So once you dine there, you're almost helping to, get into the cycle of deliciousness, right? Just tons of mixture of things. At a bakery on the mainland, a store clerk tore off the previous label and replaced it with a more recent label, preparing to deceive consumers when they open the store. This was a false earthquake alarm on a Xiaomi TV. The company later clarified that it had just this accident that it was getting fixed. Such a good quality. Green onions, sprayed to make them greener. Totally safe for consumption. Dancing Chinese robots? Not automatic, just a controller scheme. On July 13th, heavy rain in Shenyang in North China caused the retaining wall of a certain underground garage to collapse, and footage from the scene shows that the interior of the collapsed wall was not reinforced concrete, but rather filled with a large amount of construction waste. Some internet users have questioned that the wall appeared to have been backfilled with construction material, and that absorbed water and became extremely heavy under the impact of rain, and that led ultimately to the collapse. Tofu drag alert. It's like that ramen fix everything, Ramen noodle fixes all your problems and cracks. Fake walls too. Speaking of floods, fake flood fighting, this so-called PLA flood cleanup crew is just there for propaganda. Once they're done with the shoot, the real workers have to do the work.
我们的国家是人民当家作主的社会主义国家。
Selling fake AI image as a real competition entry. On July 14th, the Hallhat Literature and Art account released a list of winners for the third round of the city's Everybody's Photograph monthly competition. The first prize winning entry, called Joyful Garden, sparked heated discussions. Internet users pointed out that the text on the sanitation workers' clothes, they're not even real Chinese, they're just some illogical, distorted stuff that's obviously AI generated. And they eventually deleted the post that says the winners were announced. What's a real measurement? I don't know. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Hope you enjoyed the content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.